What is the binding formula to create a betrothal, Barrett?
I would say that the man and the woman are eligible for marriage
Yeah.
and that they have made a covenant of marriage that Yahweh recognizes.
So what makes a covenant that Yahweh recognizes? What would you say that would require?
The dads, the groom, the bride are all in agreement, and they've given their word to be married. That's all it takes. I don't think it takes any kind of ceremony. I don't think it takes any kind of drinking out of a cup or anything like that. I think other than the bridal price, that's really probably the most ceremonial aspect of it that Scripture specifically mentions, in my opinion.
It says in Malachi, this is your wife by covenant. So to me, it is the covenant. When it's recognized by Yahweh, Yahweh says he's the witness of that covenant. When you say, I take you as my wife, I take you as my husband, in a present tense sense, assuming they're eligible to be married, they're not married to somebody else, say, they're the father of the bride has released her to be married to this man. You've got a covenant there where they basically state out loud, give their word that they are married. I would say at that point you would have a betrothal. It doesn't really matter what ceremony you put around that. You could have drinking a cup. You can have a salt covenant. You can wash each other's feet. None of those things really apply to whether or not it's a betrothal. They're beautiful things, but they don't really apply to whether or not it's betrothal. What makes a betrothal is a covenant spoken to each other before Yahweh.
Right. Not even a ketubah, I don't think, is necessary. It doesn't need to be in writing. It's just a verbal covenant.
Yeah, a writing is nice, but...
Yeah. Well, like you said, they're all nice, these gestures and these ceremonies, but they're not required.
Right. In several betrothal situations that I'm aware of, both sides didn't have the same idea.
Yeah.
Some of them thought they were married. Some of them thought they weren't married. Some of them thought that this was a betrothal. Some of them thought a betrothal was going to happen in the future. All sorts of scenarios. So what do you recommend for avoiding miscommunication on this very important topic?
I would say make your intentions crystal clear as the young man and the father of the groom. Make your intentions crystal clear to the girl's father. Write him a letter basically explaining, go through the betrothal and say, this is what I think a betrothal looks like. Mm-hmm. This is what I want to do. If you don't want to do this, then say no.
Tell them to watch these videos.
But so I would say be crystal clear with her father and say, this is what I'm expecting. This is what I believe. Once she says yes, we're done. Like that's what I did with my father-in-law. Mm-hmm. And they knew. The moment he said yes, he was bound, and then the moment she said yes, and she could say yes or no, and the moment she said yes, mm-hmm. we were bound, and we considered ourselves betrothed from that point on.
Right.
So you just got to be crystal clear. I mean, you just no vagueness.
Right. And I think a lot of times there is there's very little miscommunication that happens if you actually have some sort of ceremony that places it in everyone's mind that this actually happened. So there is some value in that to whether it's he hands her some roses and he makes an official proposal in front of people, whether it's someone saying, I pronounce you man and wife, as it could be a very simple ceremony or something. But a lot of times the reason we have these traditions of ceremonies is because it helps clarify it in people's mind. So I'm not saying that you're not. No, you are. I will say you are betrothed when you give your word to be husband or wife.
Right.
But to throw together a quick ceremony right there on the spot would not be amiss.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be a bad idea at all. That's I've known some people that have done that. Like they've gotten the yes, and then the same day, a couple hours later, they all go into town, get what they need for a ceremony, and they came back and did it the same day.
Yeah, so sometimes we place too much emphasis on the ceremony. Yeah. It's not the ceremony that makes you married. It's the covenant. It's the verbal agreement that you make to each other that makes you married. Right. If you have a ceremony along with that, great. If you don't, it doesn't really matter. You're still betrothed.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Thank you for watching. Make sure to leave comments on the video with any questions you might want us to maybe address in future videos. Remember to like, subscribe, and tap that bell button so you get alerted to future videos we put on.